Okay, so let's get into it. Do you want? I mean, I don't know what you think the podcast is going to end up being. But I would like your take on it.
I think it's a place for people to come.
'Cause I don't even know.
And see two guys talk a lot of balls about a lot of balls. Really, I think that's the best way of summing it up, isn't it?
Two guys, one pod.
Two
some would
guys,
say.
one pod.
Yeah.
Nothing sexual.
Not yet. That's for the only. That's for the OnlyFans.
Yeah, you have to pay for that.
You can't see what I'm doing off camera, but Joe knows. Yeah. So I think that's what it'd be. I mean, let's be totally realistic, because I think that's always a good place to be. That this is obviously primarily just for me and you, and probably the two psychopaths that will end up ever watching or listening to this.
Me and Will bond in, and somebody who has got too much time watching,
which is fine, and I don't mind that actually. I think that's the ethos that the channel has always ran on, and that's how it will always run. So
it's always worked up to this point.
Yeah, worked is a loose term, but anyway, yeah, I think that's fine. I'm happy with that. We'll see how it goes. We'll definitely do a few, I would have thought, as like a trial run, or until I run out of things to talk about, which
he never runs out of things to talk about.
Not usually. Yeah, well, I think that's probably a good introduction. That's the 2 minutes of everyone's time wasted. So we'll move forward and talk about the big issue that's happened no less than, I don't know, like an hour and a half ago, I think.
Yeah.
What time are we on? 10. Yeah, like 10 past 8 in the minute. So Queen Elizabeth, second of her name, passed away today, which naturally the couldn't. Well, we're obviously. I guess we'd probably say we're both from England, so it's particularly pertinent.
Shocking news
for us and everybody else, I guess. There's a lot of, particularly on places like Twitter and Facebook and whatnot, where all the great people hang out, a lot of very anti-monarchy sentiment. And I think it's because, personally, it's not sort of steeped in the reality of what the monarchy is in the country, more sort of as a symbol of a united Britain for me, I think, and like tradition and continuity.
Yeah.
And I was
Tourism.
talking, and what? Tourism. Yeah, tourism.
Yeah.
I think the Queen or the royal family are more like to me, the unofficial grand ambassador of the country and of the
that's true. Yeah,
the wider like commonwealthy area as well.
Which is why it's such a global shock when something like the Harry and Meghan situation transpires.
Yeah, because you think how can you be so cold to the Queen, really? That's how
family.
it came across.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's bad.
Unsavoury, isn't it? At best.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, on personal note, I am quite sad about it. Obviously, we've known probably that it's these things are never really too much of a shock. It's more just when it happens, it's always going to be a shock. And yeah, it's just strange. It's just strange that it's happened today. But I think given the sort of news over the last 24 hours on her health and stuff,
It's got to be hard on her since Philip went as well. You know, when you get to that, you've spent that long in your whole life with somebody, and then they're gone. And just looking at those images, weren't we, of at his funeral on her own? And she's gone through a lot without him through the COVID times. Yeah, it's no way to live.
No. So yeah, I mean, it obviously I don't think anyone will be doing videos or live stuff today, especially from the UK, without mentioning that and paying a little bit of tribute, I guess. Funny how if this does end up being something in the future, we'll be like, oh yeah, that's the we did that on the anniversary or on the day that Queen Elizabeth died. Which,
Queen died and something beautiful was born.
Well, I wouldn't like to say that. So on to something that hopefully we have discussed in like good taste, or at least medium taste. We'll go on to my music taste, which is something I sort of don't have to go on music taste, but it is the next thing on the list.
We'll do music taste.
But so you don't really know too much about this. This is something I've put in like last minute, I guess, and it's sort of an oddity compared to the rest of the talking points, I suppose, as it was the Queen's thing. We wouldn't have spoken about the Queen otherwise. And So one thing I've noticed is that like my go-to music a lot of the time is, I guess, what you would describe as like almost parody music. Now, not to say that anything in terms of Sad Face's parody music is very, very, very good, well produced, like very chilled music, and that stuff is legitimate, and there are a lot of legitimate artists out there. But I find myself constantly listening to and wanting to listen to more like I say, like parody music. I guess the way to best describe it to someone who is maybe not as au fait with that type with that genre as me is to think about Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh yeah,
and like Lonely Island.
Yeah,
like songs that are very like silly in nature, but
they're very clever.
Have a really catchy hook.
Yeah,
and like stuff that gets stuck in your head, but it's stuck in your head because it's so stupid.
Yeah, but it's also you still need a lot of talent to be able to write it.
Look,
yeah.
Like some of the music I listen to is like sampled from like people who do videos on YouTube, for example. And like that is literally just like me and you talking, and then that being turned into a track.
Yeah, mad,
crazy good,
madness,
right? Yeah. And it's like even from a track like it'd be, have I subjected you to any of the Young Scrolls stuff?
No.
So there's one that's there's a Cher Goref album. There's a Barris album. You know, one of the main blades from Oblivion.
Okay.
And it's got like some really great lyrics in there. One of them is like because like Barris is sort of portrayed as like a like a very successful hip hop artist, basically, which is how they've sort of spun his character. When in the game he's very honourable, tries to defend the Emperor with his life, tries to give his life for Sean Bean, of course.
Okay, yeah,
Martin Septim.
Yeah.
But one of the lines in there is brand new armoured horse, Ford Mustang. And there's lots of lines I can't say on YouTube, by the way. It's fine if it's in a song, but I can't say it to you on YouTube because or any platform, or even in person. Probably I can say it in person, but yeah, not broadcast to the wider.
Completely PC.
Yeah, no. Exactly. But they're so good, and the Cher Goref album as well is incredible. So maybe like part of your homework, other than the other section, is maybe have a listen to a couple of those tracks.
When I agreed to this, I didn't realise it was going to be homework.
And see, well, you don't have to, but
no, I'll check that out. That sounds good. It sounds good.
It's yeah, bizarre because I don't know. I was sort of like very much into my dubstep and stuff. At one point, obviously, you have slightly different and converging. Although you used to love house music, didn't you?
Ooh, house every weekend. Going back, house every weekend. But not so much every weekend anymore.
No, never.
Being a dad, there's no house every weekend. Housework every weekend.
Housework every weekend. Now that is a track.
Yeah,
that could be a parody track of house every weekend.
That's true.
And I'll probably enjoy that if that's the case. So it's not to say that I don't necessarily enjoy legitimate music, but in terms of like if I'm just sitting here, what's my go-to? Now, obviously, I listen to a lot of Sad Face anyway, but I get to hear that every time I do a stream. That's on like in my car. It's quite soothing. But like after that, it's very much like parody, stupid music that is just like, I don't know. It's just like so incongruent with whatever it is that you're doing.
But do you think
that
must stem from the fact that your job is very intensive? You're sitting there and you're doing a lot of, well, it is. You have a stressful job, and then when you have your downtime, you don't want to be listening to serious music, do you? You want to be listening to something that's lighthearted and just de-stress, and it's got to be a bit of that. Yeah,
and I think we've established as well that it's not to do with lack of creativity or it not being legitimate music.
Yes, definitely.
Because I couldn't put together those.
This is it. I mean, as you know, I've worked around recording artists, and one of our friends is this is it. Yeah, you know, and it's a tough gig. No pun intended, but it's hard. Yeah, very, very hard. I think that it's even harder to put yourself forward as, like you say, a parody artist when you're not really taking yourself seriously, but at the same time you're taking yourself completely seriously. That's a tough gig
because you have to for it to be good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I'd imagine.
I assume these people are doing well.
Oh yeah, well the Young
Not
Scrolls.
Jay-Z well, but you know.
No. But like the Young Scrolls have done like 3-4 albums.
Yeah.
Their music is for sale. I've bought it
This
on
is it,
Bandcamp.
yeah.
But they're sort of like smaller artists like that. Absolutely no issue with buying. I'd rather buy the tracks.
Yeah, well, you got to support these people, haven't you?
Like, I mean, how much is me buying Sad Faces album compared to how many times would I have to stream that on Spotify for him to get the music of me just buying
like
the album?
100 streams for like one purchase or something? It's something crazy like that, isn't it? It's yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was even worse than that.
Yeah, it might be.
In fact, I may have seen. I don't know if this is true, by the way, because it's just something I saw on Instagram. You know what? Like trying to use anyone as a legitimate source is like. But there was one where it was like on a band's merch T-shirt, and it was saying like purchasing this T-shirt from us is equivalent to streaming 75,000. Our song being streamed 75,000 times.
Oh my god!
And they're probably not making a lot of money on those T-shirts, even if they're selling them at 25, 30 quid a pop.
That's unbelievable.
With the printing and the shirt cost, especially if it's anywhere near decent quality.
It's no wonder. Do you remember the situation when Adele? I'm sure it was Adele, when she said that she wouldn't go onto Spotify because it was so damning to her career. I mean, she's not the greatest example. She's probably one of the richest recording artists in history, but she, for a time, she wouldn't put any of her music onto Spotify.
Well, it's got to be a reason for that, and
because she wanted more money. No, but it's true, because they put all this work in, and then, like you say, they've got to stream thousands and thousands of times to get the same amount of money that they would get from selling one. Okay, CD is not an exact very good album, or a download, or whatever, whatever it is nowadays. Yeah, so people need paying for their work is the long and short of it.
Yeah, it is. And even someone as not that I particularly like Adele's music necessarily, or maybe a couple of tracks I can listen to.
She's just the first one that came to mind. I'm sure there's been
but it doesn't matter. The fact is that they have a big following, and therefore it's just how it is, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That's all I really had on that. To be fair,
it's interesting to hear though, because in my mind, your music taste has always been around like dubstep / what was it called? The soft version. Was it like soft step? It wasn't soft step, was it?
It was unifficially, I guess, called like chill step. But it's very much like it's very much a derivative of electronica.
Yeah,
basically.
Because who was the chill step artist you were?
Well, Mount Eden was a bit in between, wasn't it? They had a lot of different. They sort of treaded the line between that sort of thing. But you've got like artists like Black Mill as well, which is very much like a in between like Sad Face and Mount Eden. And then you got like other like silly track, which is more, I guess, I don't know. You call it dubstep, like .exe, but they do a lot of like more like fun tunes, I guess I would call them.
So I'd have thought you'd have gone more that way and actually got into more of that kind of stuff with the driving, and obviously the fact you've got the faster car now. I'd have thought you'd have gone. I don't, seriously, I thought you'd have gone more in that direction. You don't listen to parody music when you're driving, do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
So the Young Scrolls Shea Gorath album is synonymous with my trip up to York last year.
Okay.
Zoom in, hey. Yeah, but there you go.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
At least that was I'm glad we were able to get something out of that topic, because that was a bit of a random one. I wrote no notes.
No, it's interesting. I mean, we've not covered mine, but my music taste is, gosh. I don't really.
Has it changed?
It's changed in such that I don't listen to as much music as I used to.
Only podcasts.
This is it. I spend so much time driving, but so little time listening to music, because I'm either on Audible listening to various different books, or like I say, listen to podcasts. And I used to be the kind of person who would never get in the car and put on, say, Radio 1 in the morning, because I knew it would just be constant talking. Whereas now it's flipped around. But you get older and it changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, you think you'll listen to this podcast in the car?
I would listen to this podcast in the car. If we move on to the next topic soon.
Inception. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic. So I think we'll just probably go down the list.
That's fine by me.
So the next one is Fallout London. We've got a video, so I'm going to play that now. Ooh. And I'm basically just going to let Joe talk if he wants to talk through the video.
Our audience going to be able to see the video.
I hope so. That's the plan anyway.
Nuclear explosions are caused by weapons such as H-bombs or atom bombs. They also make a cloud of deadly dust which falls slowly to the ground. This is what is called fallout.
First thing I think if almost nothing at all. So, yeah, so that's the underground, overground, rumbling free. Tower of London, very cool. Interesting. That looks just like. Wow. This is very detailed. It must be in the. Wow. They look like they're in the late stages.
You know the armour there? The armour there was plate mail.
Was it? No way. No way. So I'm assuming this is based on Fallout 4.
Yep, using the Fallout 4 engine, which is the Skyrim engine, which is the Oblivion engine, which is the Morrowind engine. No, it's not that bad, but
it's close. You got to remember, it just works.
It does. It does just work. At all times without
Is there
fail.
16 times more detail? Wow, that's brilliant. I feel like this was designed with this really incredible music, and we're missing out on this really incredible music.
You're not.
Wow.
The music's actually pretty incongruent with the...
Is it?
Yeah, I'll let you listen to it after. I don't know why it's not working. So my bad on that one. On a bike. Never seen a bike in Fallout before.
No, that's true. What's that thing? Oh, it's a dog.
I think... yeah, we're coming towards some of the more bigger bits.
So much to take in.
I know, yep. I feel like I probably should be recognising some locations more than I am.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Don't really know London that well, so.
Well, I've never seen it in this derelict state.
Well, yeah, that as well. Here we go.
Look at that.
Using the underground.
Right, he's very clever.
Coming. When's it coming? I should hope so. I should hope it's 20 something.
Oh. Will it though? Will it though?
Apparently. This bit's a bit better with the music because you got obviously the...
Of course. Oh, no way. Look at that.
I know.
What?
Elephant.
Oh, of course, Tower of London. Look at that. No way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That looks really cool. So, first question has got to be, is this just all people with a lot of spare time doing this?
Yes, it's a community project.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
It's its own standalone game. There's no crossover with Fallout 4. It's set in between Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, roughly 55 years before Fallout 4. Well, I remember all this blurb from the website before I go into the bits I've actually copied down. So this is from the creators themselves. Fallout London is an ambitious DLC-sized mod that brings the player into the nuclear apocalypse all the way to the doorsteps of Parliament. The mode encapsulates the gritty, adventurous nature of the Fallout games with a new world, factions, storyline, NPC, weapons, creatures, and much more. This all comes together in a package tied with a uniquely British bow.
So you can see that definitely. Definitely, yeah.
With some key landmarks in there that everyone will know, which is a good start. But there was some potentially, I think, leaked concept art that the Queen was going to be in it as one of the final bosses, believe it or not. A zombified Queen with zombified corgis.
You just had to go there, didn't you?
No, but I mean, it seems. I mean, this was always on the first agenda. So it's just funny that I should mention that.
Yeah.
On the webpage, there's quite a few bits around the various factions.
Oh yeah, what are they called then?
So you got the Gentry,
brilliant.
which are the current rulers of London. I think a lot of it is around probably the player being involved with always sort of like sorting out the state of London, how it's going to look in the future, what faction is going to lead it, based on their, I guess, morals or lack thereof.
Who's going to be more popular, PG Tips or
that's
Yorkshire
PG
tea?
Tips, Yorkshire tea, all that. We got that to the side as well.
That's important.
Hopefully, that is one that's.
They've got to get tea in there somewhere.
Yeah, must do.
That's how we
It's going
survive.
to be a usable item. You then got the Tommies, who are formed as a militia. I think they've got like some sort of alliance with the Gentry, from what I gather.
Tommy's is a good name, stemming from the war times. That's good like that. Yeah.
We got the Fifth Column, which are basically trying to like the resistance to the Gentry.
Okay.
You then got Camelot, which are basically the guys who think they're King Arthur in their armor.
Which is
with
the guys in the armor, of course. Yeah.
You then got the Isle of Dogs Syndicate,
Right.
from East London. It even says here, and are in control of the borough of Millwall. Don't want to go there. I'll stay out of there. The Vagabonds, which I think are like your, I guess like your raiders by the sounds of it.
Yeah, makes sense.
And then an Angel Factor, which looks a bit like the Assassin's Creed logo. They're sort of, I guess, sort of like trying to be like MI6, I guess.
Right.
Type of thing. So there's a huge amount of thought put into this, and obviously they've done.
It's tasteful as well, isn't it?
An incredible job with the. I mean, I really like the trailer, apart from the music, which luckily none of you are subjected to. I mean, you might think differently when you listen to it. I don't know, but for me, it was
I feel like it's always normally really emotive, isn't it?
The music has to be.
Yeah, well, this is it. Yeah,
and they missed a trick on this one with it. I think, but like I say, you'll have to have a listen. Yeah. Maybe I'll show it. Maybe I'll we'll play it afterwards when I know I can do it properly. But yeah, there's a whole page on it. The 2023 date we've been told is realistic. Quite really. I mean, I'm not going to go on about how blessed we are with the modding community for particularly Bethesda games, but they are incredible.
Well, they wouldn't work without them, would they? Really? Let's be honest.
They bank on that community. I mean,
that's the only reason Skyrim is still going. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and I think you can tell that because they released the creation engine with Fallout 4 very quickly after Fallout 4 came out, which gives them access to their engine.
Yes.
Even I can create a mod in there. That's how easy it is.
And in Fallout 4, was that the first Bethesda game where they did the mods on console? It was, wasn't it? Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sure, it was. Yeah.
And then Skyrim as well.
Which speaks volumes, doesn't it? What the developers actually want you to do. They want you to buy their broken game and fix it yourself. Do you think is Todd listening?
Probably.
I think he probably is.
Yeah. Will you play it? Would you play it? Would you play it? I know we have time.
I would definitely try it. Yeah, I think that's. I think it's a great idea. I think my time is so limited now, but I don't think I could ever.
Would this bring you out of retirement?
It would. I couldn't. I don't think I couldn't. When I bought my PS4, I bought it pretty much the day that Fallout 4 was announced. It's the only thing that got me back into it, and I wasn't disappointed. It's Fallout 76. We won't talk about that.
No.
That's, but yeah, I would definitely try it.
Will you keep your PC to play this?
Yeah, I have no intention of getting rid of it. Yeah, I want to keep it. By the time I play it again, I might upgrade it. But
I don't. You rarely need to upgrade for a mod, really.
That is true. Of course, 'cause it's just based off Fallout 4, isn't it? So
As long, I mean, sometimes mods are too ambitious and they cripple the engine that they're trying to run on. So
can't be
can
much
happen.
worse than the original, though.
Don't know. Couldn't say.
I think there's a lot they can do with it, though, because obviously there's never been a Fallout game based anywhere, but America has there. So it would be very interesting to see it based elsewhere. And then you think about all the voice acting, it's already British. And that would be, again, really strange to play through, wouldn't it?
And they're not doing a voiced protagonist.
Good. That's good.
So some people like that, some people don't like that.
I really like that. What are your thoughts?
I don't have a problem.
Do you not?
As long as just pick away, do it, and do it right.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I mean, if you've got a voice protagonist, there's a lot less reading, isn't there? There's that as a pro. The thing is that the issue with Fallout 4 wasn't necessarily that he was voiced; it was the fact that whatever choice you made, it was basically a yes/no situation, wasn't it? And sometimes there was just literally one outcome, no matter what button you pressed. You just be sarcastic the entire time.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So
I'm forever pressing X on the 360 controller.
Well,
The sarcastic answer, especially to Kellogg as well.
And
Always give him.
Piper, of course.
Yeah, give Piper something else. Well, that's Fallout.
Always dragging us down.
It's Fallout done anyway. So we're gonna talk about some techie stuff now. I mean, not that mods are not techie. I guess they're probably one of the most techie bits. But we're going to talk about
hardware.
Yep, very hard. The latest and greatest hardware. So yes, we're going to talk about AMD mainly for a little bit because they've released a load of stuff about their 7000 series. I haven't got the pricing here because I don't. It's bad. All the pricing is bad. Basically, is the easiest way of putting that. So, basically, one of the main question I've got that I would like your opinion on, and I think will be closely aligned, is that how do you feel in terms of motherboard compatibility the AM4 platform was? The AM4 was the first generation of Ryzen, effectively up to this point.
Ooh.
Do you need me to give you some context?
Yeah.
So when AMD released Ryzen, they effectively said they were going to support it on their motherboards for I don't know how many years they said, but basically ended up spanning up to the 5000 series. And Intel in the past have been criticized of releasing motherboard revisions when it's not necessary. So, for example, they released the 8000 series and then the 9000 series very quickly afterwards when they had to bump up the core count effectively.
Yes.
Because Ryzen came out. And they released a whole new motherboard. I think it was like Z590, 570, is it 570, 590? I can't remember, up to 6. This 500 to the 600 series, or 4 to 3, or whatever it was. But anyway, they were basically the same motherboard. The only difference was they reckoned that this new version had better power delivery.
Okay.
But it was proven through some leaks from the factories that with the correct BIOS, these old boards the 8000 series Intel boards could run 9000 series chips.
So the issue is that they're releasing new boards to force you into a position where you need to upgrade your processor because it won't physically fit, or if it will physically fit, it won't be compatible. Yeah,
because they changed the pin layout or what have you.
So exactly. Yeah.
Intel went through a section early on, like the 2000 series, 3000 series, 4000 series, 5000 series, I think up to 6000. I joined Intel at the wrong time because I joined where they were changing motherboards every time they released a new CPU. But prior to that, they were doing TikTok. So they released the new generation, so like 12 nanometer, 14 nanometer, and then they would refine it, but it would be on, and they'd have two different motherboards, but you could use the previous motherboard. Okay. Because they were the same gen. They were basically the same gen, although it'd be like 5 and 6, 4 and 3, although it's 2 and 3, isn't it? But still. And you had that flexibility where you could upgrade to the next CPU without having to buy a new motherboard. So basically, AMD was offering unprecedented levels of future compatibility, guaranteed future compatibility, which was fine up until we got to the 3000 series. And when we got to the 3000 series, if you wanted to upgrade to a 5000 series processor, you were locked out. And you were locked out unless you were on an X470.
Right.
And the 470 series was quite modern. It came out with the second start of the 3rd gen Ryzen.
Okay.
So basically that meant you had to have a very new motherboard. So if you joined Ryzen at the start and you thought, right, I'm going to go all out, they're telling me this motherboard's going to be fit for 3-4 Ryzen generations, I'm going to go out and buy the best X370 motherboard I can.
Because you want it to last for...
Yeah, and it's going to last me.
Yeah.
When the time the 5000 series comes out, none of the chips are compatible with it.
I see what you're saying.
They are now,
Okay.
but years after the release...
So it wasn't a hardware clash, then it was a...
So they class the main issue being that they have this very small adjacer ROM on the motherboard, which is like 16 megabytes. And because of the pure amount of Ryzen chips, in order to have the latest ones on there, you have to lose the older ones to make space.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
And that was their excuse for the older boards
So it
not
sounds
being
like
able
an
to do
excuse.
it.
It
And
does
they
sound
were
like
also
an excuse.
saying that you can't go back, you can't roll back once you've gone forward. You're locked out of going back. So once you've upgraded your motherboard to take newer CPUs, if you then want to put a 1000 series CPU in, you can't. And once again, they cited things like not optimal power delivery. Now, I don't think that anyone buying a 300 initial Ryzen motherboard is expecting that CPU in 5 years' time, when it's maybe got an extra 20-watt power target, and it might have double the amount of cores than the one you've gone for, because I don't think they released one at the start with 16 cores, 32 threads.
Right.
I don't think anyone's thinking, oh yeah, this board is going to be totally optimized for that.
No.
I think as long as it's like, we're going to let you run it because there's no reason you can't.
Just so you can until you can upgrade. Yeah.
And you might see lower performance because there is a legitimate issue with wattage. That board can only do 100 watts. Your 16 core 32 thread CPU needs 120.
Yeah, this is it.
We'll provide it with 100. And the motherboard will do the best it can with the power it's got. It'll run all your cores, but you're not going to hit that boost. You're not going to hit that boost.
Yeah.
But it's compatible. You can use it if you want to do it.
Yeah, this is it. Just to tide you over until you can afford to upgrade. Yeah, but it all reminds me of my knowledge of this isn't as good as yours, of course, but it reminds me of the backwards compatibility issues with the PlayStation 3 when it first came out.
Yeah.
So in a very different way, but. It's all, when the long and short of it is, it's all about making money, isn't it? And you've got to empathise with the manufacturers at the end of the day. I think you've got two sides of it, haven't you? You've got the person who wants to, like myself, I want to upgrade in little small dribs and drabs here and again, and then you get to a position where all of a sudden you're like, well, actually, I've got to make that jump from DDR3 to DDR4, and that's going back some years now.
It's much bigger investment, isn't it?
That's it, yeah. And all of a sudden you've got to do that, and it reminds me of that whole PlayStation 3 issue when they released the first PlayStation 3. I think it was the 60. Yeah, it was the 60 gig, wasn't it? Yeah, that's the only one they did the backwards compatibility, and very quickly they realised, tell you what. If we do it without backwards compatibility, people have got to buy more PS3 games to play their PS3. They can't keep their PS2 and PS1 games. And I think it all boils down to that, doesn't it? It is. They are a company and they are trying to make money.
Well, Sony side, the PlayStation 3 was horrendously expensive because it had a Blu-ray player in.
Yes, it was.
And one of the things they cited is that they
had
had to have an extra chip on the main board of the PS3 to be able to do the backwards compatibility.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if that's because the PlayStation 3 was so proprietary and people didn't want to make games for it because I can't remember what the makeup
difficult
of
there was an issue, wasn't there, about porting games over to the PlayStation. Yeah.
And now everything's basically a computer, and there's no reason why everything can't be released simultaneously on every system.
It's just a computer inside a fancy
the
case,
same.
literally. Yeah.
You've got different clocks. You basically got the same SoC on the Xbox and the PlayStation. Pretty much. I know there are differences, but for all intensive purposes,
it's just a hardware difference, isn't it? And operating system,
but version difference.
That's it.
Best. With a few Sony want a few toggles on, Microsoft want these few toggles off because it's better performance.
Exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's just like buying a PC and never being able to change the graphics settings.
Yeah, true.
Do you
there are
want
some
more
options.
frame rates, or
No,
do you
there's
want
that
more?
option
There are.
but they're binaries.
Okay, right.
They're not minutiae,
On or off.
and there's no overclocking. There's no main.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's things about people like running Linux on some of these consoles and stuff after the fact, which is really, really cool that it can happen. And obviously,
Well, like you say,
Microsoft-
it's just a computer at the end of the day, isn't it? If
basically.
someone with enough brain cells can reverse engineer anything.
Well, stuff
can't
is
they?
just locked off in either hardware, software wise.
Yeah.
So, yep. And Intel, I believe, looks set to carry on its old tradition of, even though now it's back being a lot more competitive, seems to be back to its old games of need a new motherboard every. I think one of the issues we've got now is you've got this weird intersect where you've got DDR4 and DDR5 boards as well.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
But I'm not too much I can really say about that. DDR5 does not represent a good enough value to upgrade. DDR4 can now be really quick, and if you get one of the DDR4 boards with like a 4400 kit of DDR4, which is very, very reasonable,
And it's rapid as well, isn't it? That is fast.
would you realistically notice the difference between 4400 and like 5000 DDR5?
And this is what we're going to come on to, isn't it, when we talk about the 4000 series, when we go to that. We're going to talk about the actual benefit we're going to see, because it's smaller and smaller increments, isn't it? I mean, we're sitting next to your PC build right now, and it's like a flipping rainbow show. And you're just thinking, what more can you really want at this stage? Unless you're going to do supercomputing, or you're working on some kind of AI project.
So the big advantage is, and I think this is true, and I could be wrong, of course, but the DDR5 modules are ECC, error correcting.
Okay.
So reduces your chance of blue screens, crashes due to RAM, and that sort of thing.
Okay.
Which is
All right,
an
that's-
enterprise only feature, but it is stuff that was available on DDR2.
Really?
And then has found its way out. And in DDR4, not that you can get them, the only platform that supports ECC on the consumer side is AMD, not Intel.
Gosh.
But those modules are slower, obviously. So it's not the DDR5 is not worth upgrading to. It's got more technology, of course, because it's a lot newer. But the benefits are not there in terms of because before, when especially like you look at the first kits of DDR4 and then like the mid when we'd hit the sweet spot, and you're talking like 10, 11, 12% uplift in games.
Yeah.
Like an actual decent.
I was just about to say this, because you can compare it to cars. I always remember reading, if you try and do a modification to your car and you try and increase the brake horsepower, the speed, the braking, anything at all, it's what is actually a noticeable threshold. Because a 2% increase in anything is not a noticeable threshold. No. If you add 2% to your brake horsepower, 2% to your braking power, you're not going to notice that. When you get to 10, 15, 20%, you start to notice that, and it makes a difference to your life, or difference to your car, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I think the same thing is true with most things, isn't it? You're not going to see a 2% difference in terms of your frame rates or whatever, or your processing
unless
power,
you're very,
your video
very,
rendering.
very, very borderline.
Yeah,
And your 1% lows are
maybe
58,
you would then.
and you've got a small amount of screen tear, and you do that 2% overclock. All of a sudden, your screen tear is gone.
Exactly. That's very true. That's very true. But that's a very specific example, isn't it? And I think, I think it's important to be chasing these increments, these incremental increases in technology. But I think for the consumer, and especially for somebody like yourself who's got a very up-to-date setup, the benefit of upgrading to, like say, DDR4 to DDR5 is going to be so small that it's just not worth it, is it? Yeah, it's just not worth it. You can almost skip a generation, can't you, and wait till like DDR6, or wait till DDR5 has been around for a number of years, and who knows, it's 10,000 megahertz or whatever, or just cheap, exactly. So it's not actually costing you as much to upgrade in the first place. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I have seen nothing yet that convinces me it's worth the upgrade. And I'm sure that, you got some really fast kits of DDR3. I'm sure people thought the same thing. DDR3, DDR4.
That's so true. Well, you know how long I held off upgrading for. And actually, when I did, I still just play Skyrim.
all these cores, and all I do is play Football Manager.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, story of my life, really. I'll talk a little bit about AM5. It's very quick because I copied a few notes. So they've got 1 megabyte per core of L2 cache. They've got L1 cache, L2 cache, L3 cache. L1 cache is the one that is the memory that is closest to the SoC. So that stuff is like stupidly quick. Is almost combined in with the processing power. So the more you get out of that, the bigger the latency. But we're talking like small amounts. But a 1 megabyte for L2 per core is good. It's quick. The technology that they're using here seems to be what they've trialed with the 5800X3D, which is where they were stacking cache on top of each other to save space on the die or the substrate, whichever one it is, on the die, I think. Yeah, on the die.
Right.
Which the more memory you've got, the more data that can. Admittedly, they're small data, but it's got like on the super fast highway to be processed. Basically.
Sure.
So that side of things is really good. Whether it's noticeable or not, we'll see.
That's it. Debatable.
Although I would argue if you're in the main camp of PC gamers, TM, then more than likely you've got a CPU that ranks way above your relative performance of your graphics card anyway. So
true. Yeah.
The next two, well, not the next one, the one after is particularly interesting to me. So we've got a 15% IPC improvement, instructions per core. So they're saying that the 7000 series is going to be 15% faster per core than the 5000 series. So that's not a big of a jump that we saw from the 3000 to the 5000. That was like nearly just over 20%, which was really the thing that spiked Ryzen into the lead.
Yes, and then triggered Intel to respond. Yeah.
And Intel's still not that much quicker than 5000 series. So this is like, this leapfrogs AMD over Intel now.
And this basically is what I wanted to ask you about this and get your opinion really, is where are they finding these 20% increases? Do you think they actually hold back some of the tech so they can release it and go bam, and just really hit the competition? Because obviously there's not been competition. It's just been Intel, and AMD's just been dragging its heels for many, many years. I mean, we jokingly started talking about the FX series, didn't we, earlier? And
Intel was out the water. They needed a whole new architecture.
Yeah.
From Bulldozer.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
I don't think AMD held back with Ryzen, and the first Ryzen series wasn't that compelling.
I'm not saying they held it back, but how to go to when you get a new generation of iPhone, for example. I mean, I don't have an iPhone, but the incremental increases in tech are just ridiculously small. But yet
they are for Apple. Yeah.
They are, yeah, and they are in most areas, aren't they? Really, I mean, when a new car comes out, it's just got a new fancy screen on it or whatever.
It's the new model.
It's the new model, and you
shape,
have to have
new
it.
Shape,
yeah.
sorry, new shape.
Exactly.
Oh, which shape have you got?
Yeah, the one that's slightly rounder than the previous one.
Yeah,
that costs more than yours and makes me feel good.
Yeah, that's where it goes, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But to get a 20% increase, you must be holding something back. You've got to be. I feel like
I'm not a CPU engineer. I'm afraid. That's an air horn.
Breaking.
Breaking.
AMD are holding things back.
So, okay. Maybe the next point is better. Maybe sheds a bit of light on it, and that is that they're now going for an above 5 gigahertz boost on all their CPUs.
Above 5 gigahertz. That's unbelievable.
So above 5 gigahertz max boost on their 16-core 32-thread chip. Incredible for AMD to be hitting that high.
It just reminds me of how hard we had to work to hit 5 gigahertz on my CPU, which I actually can't remember. What have I got at the minute?
8700, haven't you?
87? No, it's a 9000 series.
9600.
9600, isn't it?
Yeah, or 9700. 9600.
I think it's a 9600. Yeah. We had to really go for it to get a 5 gigahertz overclock.
Yeah, and that's only 6 cores. So that should be easier.
Yeah, that's it. Definitely.
And it's Intel, and Intel's done 5 gigahertz.
That's it.
Enthusiast overclocking.
That's
for a long time.
Yeah, that's it.
That's really interesting to me, and we need independent reviews, of course. It'd be interesting to see how many of those 16 hit above 5 gigahertz, but
true, because it could just be a handful, couldn't it? Or
even
just
so,
one.
it's impressive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you would hope more than one.
You'd hope so.
But that to me would spark that accounts for some of the improvement IPC wise, because you got more, because you're brute forcing it with more speed.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I think that 15% increase is the package as a whole. I don't think it's the IPC. I think it will be a relative 15% increase, which would then we're not talking 15% increase and then a bit more because we're going above 5 gigahertz.
Of course, that's all the whole thing
I think
together.
so.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That would make the most sense to me, to frame it that way.
The advertisement
and to be realistic,
say
it doesn't say not. It doesn't specify.
Yeah, but you're not going to hold back. Well, you might do.
They like to inflate their number. They like to take the. They don't go, oh, what's the lowest result we got? Oh, it was only a 2% increase.
That's
no,
it.
what's the highest increase we got? Oh, we got a 20% increase.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them
faster.
to say, well, we've increased this 2%, this 3%, this 7%. Therefore, that's a
12%.
12%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then some stuff about AI accelerated tasks. Don't really care. It's going to be on a 6 nanometer die, which is incredibly small.
Super small.
Super small.
How small can you go? I mean,
we're running out of relative size.
They're going to have to stop measuring.
No. Apparently, the next one is that's what Intel do. The next one is going to be quantum computing, I believe. Totally different kettle of fish.
That's like
stupid amounts of energy.
Yeah.
But I'll leave that up to them to work out. This is the first time that their CPUs as standard are going to have onboard graphics. And they are confirmed to have RDNA 2 graphics on there. So similar, so we can probably, don't hold me to this, I don't know, I don't have any insider information. We can probably assume that they're going to have graphics that are very, very similar, if not better than what's on the Steam Deck, just on your normal desktop CPU. So it will be like actually capable if you happen to not have a GPU for 3 months.
Do you think people would actually opt to get that CPU and just hold off on? Obviously, I know the graphics card situation right now is different. It is improving and prices are coming down somewhat. But do you think somebody would be in a position to actually say, you know what, I want a computer that's like this big?
They already do it.
Yeah,
they do it at the minute with the G series, and well, they're not bad. I've got 5700G in the computer behind me.
Yeah.
People make small computers out of them already, and the performance is fine, not great, but the difference between that architecture of graphics and RDNA 2, night and day.
That's what I mean, yeah. So it's going to make it more viable to do that, isn't it?
And it's like these laptops with a single SoC solution at the minute that have got RDNA 2 graphics in, they're incredible for the money.
And if you think
small,
about it,
they're light.
Yeah, the laptop world is the ideal scenario for that, isn't it? Even if you were to put it into a size of an average gaming laptop now, but not have the GPU, and just have the onboard graphics, you could put that extra space that you're saving into cooling, because we all know laptops cooling is the biggest issue. And I know that they've
battery life.
Well, yeah, and battery, but when you're talking that kind of power, you're always going to be plugged in anyway, aren't you? But I think that
But that's the thing; it doesn't have to be. You're not running a 100-watt GPU. You're running a 25-watt, 30-watt SoC. So that's the whole thing.
True. Yeah. Good point.
So you can run that off your battery.
It's very appealing.
Which will be like a 45-watt battery on it, 45 kilowatt-hour battery. So you'll be able. You can run your 30, 35, 30 watt. Even if you overclock it, you can still get the full power. In theory.
Yeah. Yeah. The only problem is if you live in
it's going to last 2 hours.
You won't be able to charge it because you won't be able to afford it.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah, that's the other issue. But running a laptop will, if we're talking about energy prices, it's going to be a lot cheaper to run that 25. It's going to be a lot cheaper to run that 25-watt CPU compared to how much wattage am I drawing at the minute? I'm drawing just on the GPU and the CPU. I'm drawing 180 watts. So then plus the RGB lights, all the rest of it, the hard drives and whatnot. I don't know, like 250 watts at the minute compared to like what compared to me drawing 30 watts on a laptop.
So any potential sponsors out there?
No, I'm just saying. But you know what I mean, though. Like there is a genuine argument if we're talking about min maxing in terms of what our energy usage. If we could make the most out of our energy usage, like if I was going to game, I might as well just game on my Steam Deck.
Yeah,
rather than PC. If I wanted to save money.
We're not optimizing right now. Let's be honest.
No, we're not. But this is totally superfluous. But it is part of how we choose to spend our time, how we choose to spend our money. And
exactly.
My investment in this show is the electricity.
Yeah.
And then the other stuff on there is just that obviously going to have DDR5. I think they're going to have should have DDR4 version, especially for this generation. But I don't know. We'll see. And PCIe 5.0 controllers, which no, I don't think anything actually supports yet. There might be some M.2s early stage that are coming out.
That must be super fast.
Yeah, I'm not too fussed about that. I think we're at the point where you can't notice the speed difference. It's not like it was HD to SSD. That was huge.
That was unbelievable.
Like inconceivable.
I still have a laptop
speed.
that I bought about 7 years ago, and it used to be you'd buy a Windows laptop and it would be unusable within 2 years, and that is still just snappy.
Just got an SSD.
Unbelievable. SSD, yeah, it's unbelievable.
And then there was a decent, even though like you're talking, so that jump from that to that is like four times the speed or something. In terms of read write, but you've got latency, cache, and all that sort of other stuff that plays into it. But then from your SSD to your NVMe, you've potentially got another 4 times increase.
Yeah.
Do you notice that much difference?
Wow, this is the thing. You can only go so fast, can't you? When you're already at no noticeable latency at all, you can't get any better than that, can you?
So while
until you're dealing with massive files. Yeah.
So it's a use case thing.
Yes,
I don't think
exactly.
I think PCIe 5 on this generation, right now, in this year with this technology, is marketing gimmick.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's on there. Great, you can put it on there. But could you have made the boards $50 cheaper?
Yeah. But people just want to see increases, don't they? They want to see the
number go up.
Yeah, exactly. It's a 5, not a 4. Oh my God, buy it.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Literally. It's very true.
I don't have anything more to say on AMD. They are saying that they are going to keep the motherboard around for 3 years or something, which is less than their commitment. They want it to be, Lisa Su said she wanted it to be very similar to the AM4 platform, but not making any commitments. What made them row back was the fact that online and in the media, they were really dragged over the coals about the promise that they made when they first released Ryzen. Right. And because they're not making that same level of commitment this time, they know that they've got to get out.
Yeah.
And they know
you can assume they will do the same thing or worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So
they're going to break the promise the first time.
Don't get me wrong, anything better than how Intel structures it is a bonus, but yeah, I don't know. AMD is less good guy AMD now that it's got a competitive edge on Intel.
Yeah, because they're not trying to win customers anymore. They've got the customers now. They've got the customer base. Yeah.
Are you happy with that? Have you learned something?
I have learned something. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting back into it.
I guess we will. We'll talk briefly about one of the I think will be one of the most popular sections of the podcast if we carry on is your retro tech section. Putting you on the spot for this week or month or episode, I guess, or whatever it is. So you were obviously concerned that you may be more au fait with some of the older technologies.
Potentially, yes. And potentially not even that au fait with those.
And I guess maybe going forward you might look at maybe find some interesting facts or interesting like performance things or something.
Yes, well, I've got one thing I can think of from mentioning about the FX 8350 was
8350 or the 8320.
8350.
Okay, yeah.
That was because that's the one I had. I think you had the 20.
I had the 20 and then I blew it up overclocking it, and then I bought the 8370E.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Trash.
You're trash. I mean, we're all not great, let's be honest. Trash. But is it not true that the 8350 FX80, and I will do my research next week, or whenever the next one is, the 8350, FX8350 still holds the overclocking megahertz record, does it not? It's something ridiculous.
9 gigahertz, is it?
Yeah, it's close to that. It might 8
I don't know
points
if it is that one. Because they release the 9,000 bulldozers, didn't they?
Did they?
That were like 5 point something gigahertz out the box.
I feel like we need to research this right now because we've started it. They're still crap.
You know that we can.
But the issue was what was the issue? What made them so bad? Because they had enough cores. Was it the?
No. So the cores were a lie.
Okay.
So we were
supposed to be 8 core, weren't they?
So we were sold an 8 core as future proof.
Yes.
When it was actually 4 core, 8 threads.
Was it? Okay, I didn't know that. But even then, because of the time.
But Intel was 4-core 8 threads at the time. Their quad cores were technically Intel's quad cores according to
each
AMD.
core was more powerful, wasn't it? Is that not true? Because I know that most games were like either a single core or dual core, weren't they, at the time when those processors were out? So the fact that Intel had the same number of cores, but Intel's
IPC was much higher.
Yeah.
And AMD couldn't rely on brute forcing it in the same way that the architecture did with the Phenom, with the older series. That's why if you try to buy chips online now and you want performance, the Phenom chips way outsell the Bulldozer chips because they're actually faster, even though they've got less cores. Technically.
I mean, when I'm buying chips online, it's normally just the
yeah. You know what I mean, though. Yeah.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I do. But I think
it is one of the Bulldozer ones, though.
It is. And I think it's quite fascinating. I mean, it's still a useless chip by today's standards, but for it to still hold that record, I mean, did that come out in like 2011? Somewhere around there?
It must have been then, 2017, 11.
It was a long time, over 10 years ago. And I mean, we never got that. I mean, we overclocked it a bit, but you need some serious liquid nitrogen on the go, don't you, to get to that kind of level? But it's quite impressive.
I set mine on fire just trying to get 5.2 or something out of it.
Is that what killed it in the end? Oh my lord!
I gave a bit too much voltage
because they were about 4 gigahertz,
and the magic smoke came out.
They're about 4 stock, weren't they? And I think I got mine up to about 4.5, and it was still terrible. It was still terrible.
Yeah, so bad.
But it got the buzz for me, and then.
Back in the one thing I would do if I went back in time is I would tell myself, if you're going to buy this, don't buy the old generation. Buy the old generation. No, but the thing is, if you'd have bought a 2600, even just a stock 2600 at that time from Intel, which was the generation previous, it would have been more expensive, yes, but that could have legitimately lasted me up until around the 7700K. 100%. A really long time.
Yeah.
100%. 6 years, 7 years. If you bought that chip, if you bought the 2600, 2700, K, non-K, whatever, when it first came out, that could last you. That could have lasted you up until a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Still be a legitimate, not for streaming, but for gaming, just pure gaming.
Yeah, 100%.
And you can still use it today.
I mean, my 4670K Intel processor was actually very good. The only reason I replaced that was because the motherboard died, and it was actually so difficult to buy to buy a motherboard.
And they're expensive.
What was that? Z97 or something like that? I think it was. Something like that. Yeah. They just literally couldn't. You can't buy them new, obviously.
You can from China, and they take the BIOS chips off and put them on a new board. But they are legitimately new. Really? Technically, they're used BIOSes, but everything else on them is new.
We should probably have a tinker with that. I've still got the. You've got.
They're not cheap,
but I've still got my. I bet that's the thing, is it? Because nobody wants them, do they?
No, they do want them, but they're scarce, and they have niche use cases. Yeah. And the problem, and the thing is it's like linked to business use. Businesses a lot of older businesses that invested will have these chips and have motherboards go, and they won't be ready to upgrade their fleet. And they'll all be working on the same systems. They don't want to change CPUs. Like business does not want to change. It wants to keep what it's got because it works.
That's very true.
So it wants to buy a Z97 board for its CPU rather than going, let's just upgrade this one. No, because it's different to the rest of the computers.
Exactly.
And we want it to be, and we know all this stuff works on this combination of hardware.
Yeah, that's it. And I had a good overclock on that 4670. It was a very good overclock, and yet I could easily buy. I think it was a B, but the basic Intel boards. It was like a B something.
Are they B or H's?
It might have been a H actually, but it was the non-overclocking version. I thought I've spent all this money on
an overclocking CPU,
I had water cooling set up, and decent graphics card for the time, and. You've got to replace like for like, haven't you? And then you can't. So that was the only reason I upgraded, because I think you're right. I think if you've got a decent chip, you can continue to upgrade, because it's always going to be more powerful than your graphics card. You can continue to upgrade and upgrade your card and upgrade your card, upgrade your card. Actually, don't you upgrade that often?
The thing that has changed that in recent time has been PCIe 4.0. With the argument over whether PCI 3 has been saturated or not. Now, there are noticeable performance gains, particularly in like 3080, 3080 Ti, 3090, 3090 Ti, where going from PCIe Gen 3 to PCIe Gen 4 yields performance increases.
It doesn't make sense, because 4 is a big number than 3.
Yes. but it's to do with bandwidth. But anything less than that, like your 3060s, your probably even your 3070, not going to benefit from Gen 3 to Gen 4 PCIe, even though it can do Gen 4.
Yeah.
And that's where you get a hardware limitation that you cannot overcome, because you cannot buy a Z97 board with PCIe Gen 4.
Oh, this is it, yeah.
It's just not a thing. I mean, you lose loads of creature comforts. There's no Type-C. There's no Gen 3.1.
Yes.
There's no Gen 3.4. There's no USB I'm talking about. There's not going to be any USB 4. There's not going to be any Thunderbolt. And if it is Thunderbolt, that early on, it's the really early integration
Super
that was
slow.
crap.
Yeah.
To be honest. So you do miss, and you have to, that's some of the things you have to sacrifice, but we're talking a 10-year time span
Yeah, yeah,
from 2600-ish.
yeah. That's it.
And you could make like a quantum leap forward by the time you then upgrade, because
Yeah.
you're going, I'm going to go from 4 cores, 8 threads, I'm going to go to 12 cores, 24 threads.
Yeah, that's it. Huge
Makes
upgrade.
Sense.
And that's the thing. I
Depends
think
what you use
that's,
a computer for, though.
it does. It does. It all comes back down to that, because for you, an upgrade, a small upgrade for yourself, may save half an hour of video editing time. You know, for example,
Videos render so quick
Yeah.
on this, and they rendered so quick on my 9900K as well. To
yeah.
be fair,
Yeah, I can imagine.
just for reference.
Yeah,
But like, if I do a 15-minute 1080p video, there's no point really going above 1080p. It's done by the time I thought about what I'm going to put in the description. So quick, minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes for a 15-minute video.
so quick.
I mean, I remember when like thinking about parity, 1 second of video being taking 1 second to render. That would just blew my mind that could happen. And now we're way above.
Yeah, way above that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know where we went off on a tangent there. I knew it was going to happen.
Well,
So,
to bring it back around,
Yeah.
I am going to look into some
let us
retro
know.
tech,
Let
and
us
I'm
know.
going to bring it back, and I'm going to blast from the past.
why is my arm
Inception?
oh, so big.
Wow.
Just like real life. There's 2 last topics, which are probably going to be pretty quick, actually, I guess. Steam Deck, I've had a few questions on live streams and stuff about doing a follow-up on the Steam Deck. I think there's enough for me to probably do a video on, talk about my experience with it, how I've found it traveling, etc., talking about the games that are compatible with it, where that's up to. It's in a lot better place now. As a matter of trying to work out where we are in terms of orders, I put down a £4 deposit when I got mine on the 64 gig model. And last week I had my thing to say, do you want to buy it now? So anyone that ordered when I first put my first videos out, you all should be either have had the email to get your Steam Deck, or you should be next in line.
Ah, that's
So I wanted to know when the point was where I can say, right, if I've just seen my videos and I order it now, when am I going to get the email to say that it's ready?
Yes.
So now we're at the point where people who ordered it after watching like videos that I put out are now being asked to pay the money on the device.
Oh,
That's how long it's took, which actually is much better than I thought it was going to be. Because right at the start of September,
So how did it work then? So you put a very small
you
amount
put a
of money down.
£4 deposit down,
Wow.
and then when it's your time, you pay the rest. And because I didn't pay the rest, I got my £4 refunded.
So you get the four. Oh, okay, I understand what you mean. So your £4 is just literally reserving
Holding.
your yeah. You've not got the device at that stage. I'm with you. Yeah.
So I could now be sitting here with a 64 gig version of the Steam Deck as well if I was going to spend the money.
I'm with you.
But I thought it would be interesting to see how long does it actually take.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I was going to talk about in this video that I was going to do.
And the main thing from our discussions about the Steam Deck is for yourself. Obviously, you mentioned traveling.
Yeah.
Is the battery life, right? It's just not. It's always insufficient.
No, battery life's all right.
Is it okay?
Depends what you want to play.
Well,
Be
of
realistic.
course. Football
Be
manager.
realistic. And lots of people have
It's
not.
true though, isn't it?
I've seen lots of comments of lots of people not being realistic about what they can expect from the battery life.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I suppose it's a bit like what's the most draining thing you can do on your phone? It's sat nav, isn't it? Using the GPS most of the time.
Yeah,
you stick the
it's got
sat
the
nav on,
GPS
it
on,
just
yeah.
drains.
And mobile data.
That's it. It's
Yeah.
using everything. It just drains, and the screen's on constantly as well.
And if you left your Wi-Fi on,
Oh, this is it.
not
yeah.
connected to anything but left it on anyway.
All of those things.
Yeah.
And you think if someone buys a phone to use it as a GPS sat nav, then you're doing something wrong, aren't you? You're setting yourself up for failure.
It depends. Yeah, but if you're buying it for a sat nav, you can have it plugged in the whole time.
You can,
to your
but
car.
that's going to cause its own issues, isn't it?
No, not if you, not necessarily.
No,
It just depends.
batteries are pretty good nowadays, aren't they? Yeah.
Oh.
So the battery life's okay.
I think it's as good as you could ever reasonably expect from a device that does what it does. And look, if you want to play Football Manager, you get 6 hours out of it on a full charge.
It's basically like looking at a Word document for 6 hours, isn't it?
Well, you got the 2D matches as well, which are not do take a draw on the graphic. You'd be surprised, honestly. But because you can basically run that at like less than 10 watts for the most part. The game's a bit more intensive, but a lot of stuff you do is flicking around menus, looking at players, looking at stats, doing that sort of stuff. So, so that is upcoming. I haven't really got a plan for when that video is going to come out, what I'm going to talk about in it, but I need to do the groundwork on it. But there will be a Steam Deck follow-up video because I've been asked for it a non-insignificant amount of times.
Yeah, I think that's important because your videos with the Steam Deck did get quite an uptake, didn't they, in terms of views? Yeah. Because it's a really key issue. Well, not key issue. You got it at the right time. Yeah. Definitely. And
then the last one, it's sort of been done to death by everybody else, but we'll just talk about it. NVIDIA 3000 pricing has come down. Obviously, I've got some stats from CCL in the UK, which is one of the companies I would probably go to first off if I was looking for something.
So this is to buy brand new.
Brand new, yeah. So 3080 prices are around 750 quid. 3080 Ti prices are around £800. 3070 £570 is what I've got. They're the rough prices at retail currently today.
And are we talking aftermarket cards?
Yes.
That's very good.
No.
So
3000 series is at its death's door at this point. True. with overstock, with the 4000 series around the corner, with an MSRP for the 3080 of £650.
Oh wow!
And we're above that at a time where it is coming up to, in the product life cycle, end of life.
Wow, that's true. When you put it like that, I suppose I've been used to seeing it up to £2,000 for a 3080 Ti. So that's come down to
part of the psychology, isn't it? Of
it is,
marketing, sales. You know, it's like an electronics store putting a QLED OLED TV at the front of the shop, $2,500, and you walk in and go, "Bloody hell, everything is going to be really expensive."
True.
You get to the TVs, and they're 1,200 quid for like the next model down. You're like,
that's a bargain. That's so good.
It's a
bit like the fact that fuel prices for diesel were £2 a litre.
And now they're £1.80, whatever.
And now it's £1.75. I'm like, this is so cheap. Even though I was complaining about £1.30 a litre a few months ago. Yeah, I see your point.
I will say, though, if we want to talk about value and value proposition, this is probably the first time where I can legitimately would convince you to upgrade buying a 3080 to 3080 Ti.
Yeah.
But a 10% uplift for a £50 increase.
That's true.
That's worth it.
Definitely.
In isolation, in pure isolation of £50 more for a graphics card for 10 to 11% increase.
Yeah, that's very good.
That to me makes sense.
It does.
And it's not been universal because that MSRP was at 1,050 quid.
Was it?
Yeah.
Wow, gosh.
The 3080, and actually if you're going to buy used and you're hell-bent on buying used, and no one's going to listen to this, but and you want a high-end graphics card and you're hell-bent you're going to get a 30 series one, get a 3080 Ti off of eBay, nice one, second hand, 700 quid, 650, 700 pounds. That's the best deal right now for a high-end graphics card.
Do you not think, though, it would be...
And it's ludicrous still.
Yeah, it is.
It's the best deal.
But if you're going to spend £700 on a good condition used, you might as well spend £800 on a one with a year's warranty or 2 years warranty or whatnot.
Depends what company you go with.
True.
And...
Yeah, good point. Because I imagine there are aftermarket cards out there that
you can
much more expensive.
And there's ones where they do transfer the warranty as well.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But the real advice is to do nothing if you want to buy a graphics card at the minute.
I'm looking at that screen and that 570 for a 3070, that sounds good to me. I'd say that'd be your best deal. 3070.
It's too expensive still.
It's expensive, but that's a brilliant card. I mean, I bought my... And this is going back probably about 3 years now, so it's not very relevant, I suppose. But I bought my 980 Ti second hand for about $350. 3 years ago. So to me, 570 for a 3070, which is 40% increase probably, maybe more than that.
Okay, but you can get a 3060 Ti, which is very usually in stock,
Right.
For NVIDIA for 360 quid.
Really? Wow.
I think the best 30 series card, other than the 3080, is the, unless you need it for professional work or whatever, is the 3060 Ti.
In terms of price to performance ratio, yeah.
That's made the most sense, and it's overpriced still.
Yeah.
But
everything
everything's got to be relevant.
You've still, like you say, you've still got to look at the price to performance, haven't you? Because
that's it.
you can't take the price and say, okay, that's just too much money. Because if you're going to spend the money, you're going to spend the money, aren't you? But is it better spending £800 on a 3080 Ti, or is it better spending $360 on a 3060 Ti? You know. Well, you just answered that, but you know what I'm saying. You've just got to. If that's the price, and you want to pay it, you got to pay it.
Yeah. I think whatever you buy now is going to massively decrease in value. So you're not buying anything at the minute for a value proposition.
No.
You're buying it because you need it.
That's it, exactly.
In fact, if you're going to buy anything, I don't even know. 2060. Use 2060.
Yeah.
It's old. It's new enough where it give you the performance, but it's old enough where you're going to lose less money when you come to sell it.
And it always comes back to think about what you want to use it for.
I can't remember.
If you're going to play Skyrim, then just buy my...
Don't do ray tracing. Just decide you don't want to do ray. Just decide you don't want to do ray tracing.
Yeah, this is it.
You know, on the used market, you can almost pick between a 1080 Ti and a 2060.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's it. I don't know what we're going for. Just over an hour. To be fair, I thought an hour would be the ceiling.
Hour's right,
but
I think an hour's right.
We didn't run out of things to talk about, which is good.
It was good, and I enjoyed the process, and I think that we got what we wanted to say. I think it was easy to chat through things, wasn't it? And hopefully somebody out there watched it.
Probably not. It'll probably be me and you watching it back tomorrow.
Exactly.
The weekend, but
I'll make the wife watch it.
It'll be really good to see how it does translate.
I think so.
But we definitely. The only thing I do want to change is I want to change seating positions and stuff, because I bought this really nice pedestal thing here. Holds lots of stuff, but it's really in the way.
It
is on wheels though, so maybe it's something that I move out of the way
next time
for
we can
this.
make it an even more uncomfortable position for you.
No, just put it back, put it around there or something. But yeah, we'll see.
But I think
Maybe a super wide angle lens. Get us both in.
I feel like the setup was brilliant. You've put the legwork in, and I think next time we just need to think of a few more topics, and go for it, and then we can get a sponsor, and then we can. It's all about the money.
Here comes the money. Money talks. Here comes the money. Money, 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 money. Holla, holla. Vince McMahon's, or Shane McMahon's walking in the from WWF.
That's going back.
And he's going back.
SmackDown. SmackDown 2.
Old school, yeah. Old school. Well, thanks for stopping by, joining Joe for the first one.
One pod.
The Ethernet Dream podcast.
Where have you put the pod, by the way?
Ethernet Dream.
Where's the pod?
Pod mic.
Pod mic.
Smash. Okay. Well, thanks to anyone that's bared through listening to this, but you can have your time back now, have your life back. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
See you next time. Bye for now. I meant to end it.
Oh, this is